All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's just that time of the month. It's just that time of the patch because every 40 or so days, we'll get something in our mail asking us what our level of player satisfaction is with this game. And of course, I would have to say Wuthering Waves version 2.3 has been one of the most controversial versions yet. I think it's come out with a lot of good creative stuff, but it's also come out with some things that have disappointed, right? A significant portion of the player base. Who knows how much of that is real, who knows how much of that is astroturfing, but I decided, why don't we go ahead and take the time to actually fill out this survey that's been sent to us by, of course, Yang. I'm sorry, I'm just quoting my TTS, that's how it says it. And, you know, it's been a while since we've seen her. Why don't we just entertain her for the day while also getting flashbanged and give this survey a bit of a spin. So, yeah, we're just going to go ahead. We're going to have the TOS over here just, you know, saying, hey, do you agree with getting your data collected? Blah, blah, blah. Well, naturally, we're providing it, so we'll click yes. All right, now let's get into the meat of it. So far, how would you rate your overall experience in Wuthering Waves version 2.3, the fiery arpeggio of Summer Reunion? That's kind of actually a fire name, to be honest. New content in version 2.3 special event, Cube, Cubic, and Cubie. Companion story, Blaze in the Dark, and event quest, Your Summer Will Never Wither, as well as the Resonators, Johnny and Shakona. So, if I'm going to be talking about these events in particular, just these Cube, Cubic, and Cubie, Blaze in the Dark, and Your Summer Will Never Wither, as well as the characters, I mean, I've got to say it's pretty much a very satisfied. That's for me, because these are the things that are being judged over here. I liked Cube, Cubic, and Cubie. I thought it was like a great little story quest. I liked the vibes in it, and I liked the replayability as well as, you know, all of the different, as well as the overall progression of it. I thought it was a ton of fun to actually play this one. Companion story, Blaze in the Dark. Yeah, I heard that one was pretty good. I haven't personally played it through fully myself, and Your Summer Will Never Wither was also very, very, very good. And when it comes to the Resonator, Zani and Shakona, I guess we'll put overall satisfied because it does seem like I would have to say Zani for me is a little bit, she's cool, definitely, but I would have to say her lack of having like a 4-star Frazzle applicator is kind of like where I feel like it falls apart a little bit for me. And for Shakona, I gotta say that her lack of, I would say, just like usability in the TOA, or usability on like team comps and like team comps that actually like feel like they fully leverage her, is a little bit lacking. Primarily due to the fact that Phoebe had two forms. Phoebe had confession mode, Phoebe had absolution mode, and you just never had to end up doing confession mode ever when Phoebe was released. But Shakona really only has like her arrow erosion application mode. It's not like she has like two states. And so she ends up feeling very incomplete, at least in the current update, where I don't know, I feel like I'm not able to use her at her full potential, and it feels like I'm pulling her for later potential. And to me, she's not like a best in slot option on like any team, at least in my opinion. And that just sort of makes me feel like I know I'm pulling this unit because I'm pulling this unit because I feel like she's cool, but I wish she had more meta relevancy. All right, so based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? Story. I would say the story, yeah, very satisfied. The story progression here, especially in Shakona's story quest, which is basically like a main story quest, in terms of what topical areas it covers, how far it goes, and like the characters that are involved. I think it's actually very nice. The world exploration, I mean, I would have to say neutral because I don't think they added particularly much to it. I would just say neutral because it doesn't seem like they added or took away from anything. And so it's kind of just, it is what it is, right? Environment visuals. The quest seems cool. Yeah, the quest does seem pretty cool. Your Summer Will Never Wither, and like kind of like, oh, they did actually add like the dreamscapes that Shakona had, right? As well as like the underground area with Zani. So yeah, I'll put overall satisfied world exploration. And then music and sound effects. Yeah, we need to do something about Shakona's song. I would say aside from that, pretty good, but there needs to be some way to like either customize it or like turn it off, bro. Because imagine like you're fighting the Dragon of Dirge. I mean, you can experience it right now, right? And you want to hear like the really cool music from the Dragon of Dirge, which is like, you know, all that Elden Ring shit, like the opera, you know, like all like the organs, all that crazy cool stuff. And then instead you're just hearing like, And you're like, okay, bro, like this is not what I want to hear when I'm fighting like a massive undead dragon. All right, based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? Resonator visuals, combat, resonator building, and performance optimizations. I would say the visuals on the 2 new units are pretty fantastic, pretty solid. The combat feel, I don't really like how Shakona plays. Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. Maybe I'm just tripping balls, but Shakona has like really interesting cancels and stuff, but they almost made her feel clunky to play if you're not going to use her cancels. The delay on her 4th basic attack is so ridiculous that you have to cancel it. Otherwise, the character feels like shit. Genuinely. I haven't really seen a character at this point in the game where you're like so incentivized to like dash out of moves and, you know, use your skill to like cancel them. It's like, bro, she kind of is just like the delay. Again, the delay on her 4th basic attack. If you don't dodge cancel out of it, it takes like a full fucking second to do another action. It's a little bit ridiculous, and you're basically going to get hit or going to get interrupted if that occurs. But I would say Zani actually feels really good to play. Her parry feels really nice. I like that her parry has like a 2-3 second cooldown in its regular state. It's actually kind of ridiculous how good it feels. And I feel like that kind of levels it out to overall satisfied. But yeah, Shakona does not, yeah, her gameplay is just it's a little bit messy, like Cantarella's. Now we got Resonator building. I mean, what else can I say other than very satisfied? I feel like we got so many materials this patch. We always get like so many level up materials. Like character building feels super smooth. I remember I was collecting Golden Fleece for Shakona's Ascension, and it took me, I needed to get like 50 of them. It took me like 2 or 3 minutes to get 50 Golden Fleece. They've made the collection, they made the progression very, 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 very seamless, not very annoying at all. You know, I'm just thinking back to the days where it would take me 10 minutes in Genshin Impact to get like 20 Ascension mats, and you need like fucking 100 plus to ascend a character. Yeah, that's just ass. All right. Now we got performance optimizations. Did anything particularly crazy even occur on like on the performance optimization side? I don't recall if anything actually happened on the performance optimization side. Yeah, I'll just be neutral because I don't even. Oh, there were a couple of bugs with like Chakona. I remember going into Avenolium on release. They allowed RTX and more graphics cards. Do I even have it enabled? Okay, I guess with more 120 FPS and RTX, we'll put overall satisfied. But there were some things like Chakona's heavy attack, the Forte enhanced one, like darkening your screen when she was released, but I'm assuming they fixed it. All right, based on your experience in the current version, how satisfied are you with the following? I would say Cube, Cubic, and Cubie, the co-op experience there was pretty cool, pretty fun. I like that they had it available every couple of levels, like every 5 levels. And then it was meant for you to, like, you know, grind out some of the mats needed to upgrade your cubes. And then you would, you know, go through the story again. I like that progression. Thought it was cool. Had a lot of fun co-op experiences with that. And enjoyed some of, like, the challenges. I will say, though, it was almost like co-op Whimpering Wastes to a degree. I still like the co-op bosses, right? The co-op bosses are still kind of like where the meat of the fun is. Because in Cube, Cubic, and Cubie, sometimes you had like some bums. The only times that you would like wipe or people would like revive was when you had 3 DPSs, no healing cubes at all, no sustain cubes. And then you could end up with like one bum just dying 7 times in one run, and then you don't get any revives. I feel like every person should have had a set number instead, not like a number of revives shared by the team. Because I had one dude, I had like a Phoebe player that would go in and they ate all of the team's revives. And I was just like, okay, now you're just incentivizing me to get pissed off at somebody who sucks balls at the game. Just give everybody like 2. Don't let one person take 5 of them. UI design. I mean, I would say overall satisfied or very satisfied. I don't notice anything across any of like the new, even like Dreaming Deep, all of the new events where the UI is bad. I would say the UI looks good. Everything like progression wise looks like fine. It's more so, I would guess, like the flow of the content in some of the events that has some people looking, or that has some people a little bit upset. Actually, I'll say neutral, because when it comes to upgrading the cubes and dealing with your cube modules, it's a little bit rough. Yeah, it's a little bit rough in the cube event to be going ahead and dealing with all the modules that come out. You gotta like do like a bunch of filtering. I kind of got to a point where I just ended up collecting like 500 of them because there was just too many. And I didn't want to spend the time like manually like sorting stuff and then figuring out what I wanted to keep and what I wanted to get rid of. So yeah. Now we got events and challenges. Cube, QB, and Cubic, Dreaming Deep, Solaris Film Festival. So I think that this is probably going to be one of the most controversial parts of the feedback, just primarily considering that I really liked Cube, Cubic, and QB. That was one of the most, I thought that was one of the best combat events that we've had. But when it comes to Dreaming Deep, Solaris Film Festival, I think that when it comes to like the overall dialogue flow, the progression, there's been like a lot of feedback that people have given regarding that I feel like we could maybe explore a little bit and just like bring up on the screen. There's like one shot in particular that I feel like we could, I think it's this part over here that I would say is like where I feel like a lot of maybe like the disconnect in the flow is for people. So these are the main ones, right? Having the dialogue interactive more in like one way or another, and then having like the whole like, you know, still having like the skip feature in there. I think like the right side example that we're seeing over here with like the VN or like the VN style storytelling where, you know, it's like you see like the 2D PNG of like Rover, they're like saying stuff, blah blah blah, and then whoever is, you know, appearing on the screen. I feel like that would make it a lot more interactive if they are gonna have dialogue, and then maybe they could either cut down on the dialogue or something like that, make it a bit more like Hades style. Yeah, and I think that this would be a nice bit of like fresh air. That's like a good bit of like a that would help like bridge the gap between what's actually going on in the story of Dreaming Deep, as well as, you know, not just having like a bunch of like different text things coming down from the side. Some people say they like the comic book pics on the left. Yeah, I feel like I feel like for a roguelike mode, that would take quite a bit of time to like actually like put together, unless we're willing to, you know, dive into AI to get it all done. Maybe that's something that they can do for some of like the special events that occur. Like, you know, maybe it occurs like once or twice a run, so there doesn't have to be as much like bandwidth put into making like the comic book style frames, but then like VN style stuff mostly for a majority of the interactions. I will say though, one thing that makes the current storytelling method of Dreaming Deep pretty good, where they, you know, just show a bunch of stuff on the side over here and then like the text just keeps flowing, is that it's easy to reread what was going on in case you like missed something or wanted more context. When you have like a more like VN style storytelling, it's harder to go back to what happened to the dialogue, but they can just have like a button for that, right? The next thing is that some of the stuff in Dreaming Deep, like, you know, not being told what level a fight is when you know, could potentially be really under-leveled or over-leveled for it, can be a little bit rough. But I feel like there's still like a lot of like pretty great stuff in the game mode overall, like the bond system, how they do like the progression, the character upgrades, you know, basically just you know, being available for everybody now and just building off of what we had in the IR. I feel like the game mode just genuinely needs like, you know, a lot of stuff that streamlines the actual progression of it, makes it feel better, and, you know, from there helps speed up the whole like replayability portion of it, because I think that from a lot of the measures that I've been seeing, it does take too long. And I feel like half of that is just from literally this. It takes too long to move. In the current state of Dreaming Deep, going this far on the map, right? Like you will see each individual tile getting moved to, and it'll take you like 4 to 5 seconds to move this far. You should either teleport or just like walk really fast, right? Maybe, like, if you want to make it, like, interactive and funny, maybe they get on, like, Inferno Rider. Or they, like, use their wings from Resonator or something like that. Or they pick up, like, a, I don't know, a cat's paw from the Elusive Realm and just start, like, running faster. That could be, like, some cool in-lore, funny, goofy ways to do it. But right now, it takes too long to move on the map. Way too long to move on the map. So yeah, and maybe, like, some sort of, like, ×2 speed as well, if that could help too. But yeah, those are the main things. All right, now let's keep moving on. I would say as a whole, probably either neutral or somewhat dissatisfied, given all the feedback that we have over there. This is less so because I think the game mode is bad, but more so I feel like there's a lot that could be improved, and it doesn't seem like a lot of crazy budget or like high effort stuff to improve it. Yeah. Alright, what do you think about the amount of playable content in version 2.3, the fiery arpeggio of Summer Reunion? So, I would say the amount of content is probably actually too much. So, this is the thing. Some people are saying that 2.3 is like super dry and actually doesn't have a lot of stuff. I'm actually in the boat of there's actually too much playtime involved with certain events, and it's mainly related to Dreaming Deep. It's dry as a bone. They added 2 permanent events. There's no universe where you can call this patch this entire patch dry as a bone. The thing is that Dreaming Deep actually takes too long in the later runs. I think some people have like said that their runs take like 40 to 70 minutes to do, and that's an example of something being too much content and the actual playtime is too long. That's what it is. Yeah, it takes an hour if you want to fully complete the map. And so, what are you going to call it then? If it takes you an hour to do a run and the runs take too long, some people are doing runs in 80 minutes. Are you going to say that's not enough content? That's not accurate feedback. You could say that it's too long and not fun enough for how long it is, which is probably the accurate way to talk about it. If it takes too long, you wouldn't say that there's not enough content, because that would give the feedback that they need to add more and make it longer. I'm not surprised that Hoyoverse has made so many dog shit updates, because what it seems like to me is you guys are dissatisfied with the patch, dissatisfied with what is going on, and you don't know how to deliver feedback properly that actually accurately addresses your concerns. Imagine Dreaming Deep takes too long to do, and then you guys are proceeding to say there's not enough content. That's not going to solve your... If they addressed what you said, that would not solve the problem. It's as to do, my guy. Oh, okay. So you said that there's not enough content. It's as to do. So you want them to add more ass content. It's dry, so we need more. This is what I mean by some people don't know how to give proper feedback. So yeah, we're gonna say there's too much content and the actual playtime is too long. How satisfied are you with version 2.3's Tower of Adversity? Okay, I would say I'm actually I'm neutral on it. The main thing, actually, I'll put somewhat dissatisfied on it. The one thing I really just did not like about this TOA reset was how hard Zani was shilled in her release TOA. I can't fathom why they would make a TOA buff that just turned the character into the most ridiculously powerful one in the game. Just from the perspective of, I've never seen a TOA buff that was that strong for a unit before. They got a 20% damage buff to their main attack type of heavy, and they just got a straight up 100% Spectral Frazzle damage amp. And the end result was that they had such a crazy overstatement on the actual damage that they did, and she was so shilled, it was ridiculous. The thing is, they brought it back in the most recent reset, where, you know, everybody gets a 20% attack buff, and Shakona is not even close to nearly a shield. If I'm gonna be honest, Shakona's like one of the worst options you can use in the current middle TOA. I'm gonna be real, bro. She's kind of just like not good, because most of her teams aren't like that good because there's not that much synergy. And so the end result is that like Shakona is shilled because it has a 30% arrow erosion crit damage buff if you've got it on your team, but like you'll clear faster not having her on your team. So that 30% crit buff, honestly, if it wasn't there, the Shakona teams might actually be the worst ones in the TOA. In fact, I feel like Shakona teams are the ones that needed to get shilled more. You might think I'm crazy for saying that. I feel like the arrow erosion side actually needed bigger buffs to further incentivize using arrow erosion. Like, I get better results using teams that don't have her on it. Which is just like, it's a little bit silly, right? So I feel like they kind of over-shilled Zani, and then they did not shill Shakona enough. Because, bro, I don't even want to use her in the TOA, even with a 30% crit damage buff to the team. Alright. Why is version 2.3's Tower of Adversity not satisfactory? Well, we just explained it, so let's write it down. The first reset was way too powerful for Zani, giving her too much damage bonus and amplification that made her seem much stronger than she actually was. It made her effortless to play in the content and was not reflective of her real strength. The second reset is much more balanced, but Shakona is just not a good unit to even use in it. All you get is a 30% crit damage buff, while every team gets a 20% attack buff, and you will get better results not using Shakona in the middle floor of the TOA. However, the second reset has great buffs on the left and right towers, which is good. Okay, there we go. All right, what's the highest difficulty you reached in Phantom Pain Lorelei? 6. How satisfied are you with Tactical Hologram Phantom Pain Lorelei? I feel like she's too easy, bro. I'm gonna be real. I feel like she's actually too easy. She's kind of like a joke, to be honest. She just has like one-shot moves. That's the only thing. She kind of just has like one-shot moves. I'll put neutral. Why is Tactical Hologram Phantom Pain Lorelei not satisfactory? I think she's a little bit. I think she has a lot of visual clutter. Her bubbles being one-shot moves is just kind of annoying. It's just kind of annoying facing her for the first few times. Yeah, the visual effects are kind of ridiculous. I like the HP recovery. The fight was also too easy. Challenges were frustratingly difficult. No. The boss's certain skills could down my resonators almost instantly. Yeah, I don't particularly like that part. It was difficult to judge when to counterattack. Nah, not really. The boss was ferocious. Nah. The boss moved around too much. I'm gonna put that for fucking fleur-de-lis, yeah. The boss's combo attacks lasted too long. Nah. I would say none of these are really, like, too bad, but it's really just these main ones. Like, aside from her bubbles, the boss was kind of just a joke. Do you want more difficulty levels? Yeah, I'll enjoy some more challenging ones. How satisfied are you with version 2.3's Whimpering Wastes? I would say overall satisfied. Neutral. I'll put neutral. Why was version 2.3's Whimpering Wastes not satisfactory? Whimpering Wastes 2.3's reset returned the buff in Infinite Torrents that increased enemy damage taken from only critical attacks. It also removed all tokens that granted crit rate. This makes certain investment from less experienced players much more impactful on their clears without any way to increase crit rate to activate this buff. The gold tokens this reset were also a little bit more boring. Just big buffs for Spectral characters, a boring increase to attack, and not that much, but a cool bonus for liberation-based damage dealers. But Zhangli Yao is Kalkaro are the only real ones that can use it. I feel like there could be a lot more creativity on the tokens. Yeah. Which of the following best describes your awareness of the Spectral Frazzle effect? I'm aware of the Spectral Frazzle effect and have been using it. Yep. What do you know about the Spectral Frazzle effect? I don't know anything about the I know this. I know this. I know all about that. Yeah, these are kind of just... I know this as well. I know that as well. Is this just like a knowledge check? Yeah, I mean, I know all the above. Okay. Shit. Okay, I should have just... Yep, that's just the mechanics of it. How satisfied are you with the Spectral Frazzle effect? I would just say very dissatisfied. The thing is, this shit does fucking no damage. It's a status effect that literally, you'll stack 10 of it up, and it'll deal like 4,000 damage to the enemy. It feels like it's only used to enable kits. If it actually did meaningful damage, I would be happy with it. But bro, right now, it's basically just like an outro skill. Kind of. It kind of just feels like an outro skill buff. When you get it up to a certain number of stacks, it's basically just like a damage type. And if it actually was a real damage over time that did damage, I feel like I would have a lot more fun with it. But if you try to use Spectral Frazzle, like the Spectral Frazzle dot to actually do anything, it won't. It literally won't. Alright, why is the Spectral Frazzle effect not satisfactory? I don't think it's the mechanics don't actually feel generic. I don't think keeping track of it is too bad. I guess this is the thing. If there was some sort of visual effect associated with it, where like the boss starts like shining more or like something, or starts getting like, you know, more and more like little dots of spectral around them as they build up more stacks, that feels like it would be cool. Yeah, the visual effects did not stand out. I can't even tell like when they're affected by Spectral Frazzle. The mechanics were not enjoyable. It's a damage over time effect that does not deal any meaningful damage. It feels like it is only used to enable kits and isn't a real factor in playstyle. The activation process was cumbersome. Not really, I don't think so. It's only available with a small number of characters. Yep, add some new 4-stars. Add some new 4-stars, or, you know, retroactively add it to some kits. Defeating the current enemies, oh yeah, and multi-wave content, oh yeah, that's a real Phoebe issue. There were no combat mechanics in place that made the Spectral Frazzle effect feel unique. Enemies that can only be defeated by Spectral Frazzle. Nope, don't put that in the game. Kuro, do not put this one in the game. No, get that fucking shit out of here. Now, we don't need this fucking ZZZ Electro Shield. We don't need no fucking Abyss Lecter garbage. No, I'm good, bro. Don't put that shit in. The learning curve was too steep. Nah, it's you apply it by accident. Using character kits. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. All right, how satisfied are you with the Anniversary Resonator Convine? Very satisfied. If you have a problem with this, you're brain dead. Again, if you have a problem with this, I think you're stupid. You just pull out, you don't have to pull out every single character. These are literally off schedule banners. Brant and Phoebe ran in version 2.1 and they're coming back in version 2.3. Yeah. I think the only thing is that I would say the overall banner system for the anniversary could have used a bit of a buff. Yeah, maybe they have like a guarantee on the first banner you pull on across the entire anniversary, but the 12 banner system, I mean, I don't really see the issue. Yeah, it's good for people that wanted to pull whoever they wanted, right? And there are a ton of people with a lot of pulls, right? From either saving up or just getting a lot of pulls from the anniversary that were able to pull characters that they ended up skipping before. This is only good. This is only for those who missed out. Yeah, it's quite literally like, if you pulled every character in the game already, then maybe you can pick up their weapon, which is what I did for a couple of them, right? And this was like amazing for people that had pulled just Phoebe or Brant, right? In version 2.1, or maybe just Carlotta, just the character, and then they wanted their weapon afterwards after they saw like what the performance is with the weapon. And then they just grabbed the weapon over here. Like, this is the thing. Like, I can't see what's necessarily wrong with this. Would you have just preferred if on the next anniversary this isn't here? Like, I feel like that's what I'm like genuinely wondering. Would you have just preferred if it wasn't here and you just only had the option of like 4 characters on the anniversary? It's so ridiculous, right? Sure, we can talk about the lack of like a guarantee on like the first banner pulled, but that's independent of the actual anniversary Resonator Convine system. Yeah, it's like, okay, great, on my anniversary I get to pull between 2 units. You can just choose whoever you want. Yeah, and this isn't like HSR's banner system either, where having a quadruple rerun, if you don't pull a unit on the quadruple rerun, they're not going to be back for the next couple of months. I guarantee you, one of these characters is going to run again within 2 months. Yeah, otherwise it just wouldn't make any fucking sense. One of these characters, probably 2 of them, will run again in the next 2 updates. Guaranteed. And most people are putting money on Carlotta and Chang Li running again because their fucking skins are coming out next patch. So yeah, we'll see tomorrow on the live stream what the situation is over there. But yeah, I would say overall very satisfied. I would love to see this again next anniversary. You know what I'd like to see on the next anniversary? Fucking 7 characters on each banner. Fucking 8 or 9. I just want them to run every limited character that ever released in the history of the game, so that if you missed anybody, you can just pick them up. Straight up, I don't see an issue with it. Yeah, run every single character that ever released. It's just a FOMO eliminator. And then, as long as the anniversary banners don't interrupt the regular banner schedule, who cares? You're basically just saying, oh, like, why do you think a banner schedule is even there in the first place? Why don't gacha companies just always run every character all the time? Because you actually make more money by adding the FOMO of not being able to always pull a character. That's a big part about how gachas make money. Otherwise, if this was super predatory and was the most successful thing ever, every unit would always have their own banner all the time in every single game. Did you participate? Yes, and I got the Resonators I wanted. True. Why'd you convene for Resonators under the anniversary Resonator convene banner? They can enhance my team's combat performance. Yeah, I mean, I pulled for a weapon. Yeah. Oh, whoopsies. I guess we fucked up. Okay. No, I didn't pull on it then. Okay. Hey, Kuro Games, if you're watching this, retroactively, I did not pull on any of the characters because I had all of them. I pulled on a weapon. Oh, fuck. Okay. Based on your experience in the game so far, do you have any additional feedback or suggestions? I would say overall... Oh, dear. Oh, it's an earthquake. Overall, the release of Shakona has been one of the most disappointing characters to date. She has no best-in-slot or even close to best-in-slot teammates on release, and she feels very lacking for a sub-DPS. She is comparable to Phoebe, who enables a lot of Spectral Frazzle in her Confession mode, but Phoebe also had a DPS Absolution mode that made her feel perfectly fine on release. Shakona is like, yeah. Cantarella also feels a bit similar with her lack of 5-star Biz DPS partner, but she can still be used in top tier teams with Jinsei. I hope that future sub DPS releases can feel a lot less restrictive than Shakona in the future. Yeah, that's the main one. I really just don't like the team state that she released in. Yeah, I really don't like the team state that she released in. And I guess the last thing is, the last bit of feedback is for the TOA. Adding a 5th floor to the left and right towers that include level 100 enemies, and grant full completion of the prior 4 tower floors would be very cool. Cool for more well-invested players who want harder fights and less time spent clearing floors 1 to 3, which is tedious for more invested accounts. Okay, that'll be that. So yeah, I'm basically talking about in the TOA, you know how there's 4 floors? And the 4th floor is kind of like the only one that's a meaningful challenge. I'm saying add a 5th floor underneath the 4 floors, and if you complete the 5th floor, you clear the previous 4, and you get all the stars. And the 5th floor has, like, level 100 enemies, and it's basically the same difficulty as the Hazard Tower, with, like, how hard the enemies hit, how much HP they have, so that you can get it done faster, or if you want more of a challenge as a more well-invested player. So yeah, that'll be that for me. And I do believe that's the whole survey. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be our overall feedback for the version. We're going to go ahead and claim our 5,000 shell credits. I didn't want to take those before we did the questionnaire. Otherwise, I'd feel guilty at just stealing from Yang Yang. And so we're probably going to get a couple of unborn echoes, all of that other stuff as a result of that. But overall, I would say there's definitely a lot of work that could be done in the version. But the thing is, a lot of this stuff is permanent content that we're talking about adjustments for. And at the end of the day, right, when it comes to permanent content, it's always open for additional updates in the future. And Dreaming Deep specifically is an event, is a game mode that Kuro has promised to give more and more meaningful updates to as time goes on and they create more of those stories. But yeah, I would say it's definitely like a decent starting point. There's a lot that can be ironed out to make the gameplay feel a lot more smooth, but I don't think it's like some dog shit game mode, right, that people are claiming that it is. I really do think that, you know, some people need to take a step back for a second and realize, yes, there's some stuff that's annoying about it. There's some stuff that takes a lot of time, but there's still a lot of potential there. All right, let me know what you all think. Peace.